All right, good morning. There we go. Right, we are live. Welcome to my channel. Where is, hold on, give me a sec. Morning, guys. Welcome to my channel where I stream my adventures, learning and creating digital art, as well as a little bit of game streaming and the occasional uh, tech review or gadget review. Although I haven't done any yet, but I do have some in the pipeline. Just some simple stuff I've picked up basically from my streaming channel. But I've been working on a little stylized diorama for the past couple of weeks. Just kind of going through each different prop, and I just stream a little bit of each process. And I am doing a little pillar that's going to be part of the support in the walls in my little stylized prop. It's kind of something a little inspired by World of Warcraft, Heroes of the Storm, Dota, League of Legends type of art style. So basically I blocked this out in Blender, and then I have exported it into Zbrush here. And I split it up into different poly groups based on what I wanted to do. Basically, I only really wanted this part, which is going to be metal, left as its own. And then this and this, these are all going to be wood. And this one is going to be stone. Let me adjust this screen a little bit. Okay. So let's get started, shall we? I made a duplicate of this because I always kind of like to just make a backup. This way, if I mess up, I have something to fall back on. We'll turn that one off. And this one I've already dynameshed, so it's got a really high poly count. And then we'll just go ahead and... Sorry, I gotta move my keyboard. I'm one of those guys who has to see my keyboard. I'm not that great at typing yet. But yeah, we'll just start with the metal parts. To show you again, each of these is going to be like a metal support, and this is going to be stone, and these parts are going to be wood. And I like to use this matte cap. I like it because it really highlights the edges. And I use a very similar workflow for most of my stuff. I don't use a huge variety of brushes. You know what, I think, hold on, let me jump back. I think I can just use symmetry here. Local symmetry. Yeah, do that. Not going to break these edges down too much. I need to make this brush a little bigger. I still wanted to maintain a relatively clean look. You know, because it is metal, but I do want it to kind of look like it's been beat up a little bit. Just a little bit. I mean, it's something that's up high. It's not like it's getting hit and bumped and damaged a lot, but it wasn't, you know, they didn't use modern day techniques to build it, or forge it, I should say. So it's a little less than perfect. And I'm really not going to do a whole bunch to it, because it is, you know, like I said, it's something that doesn't, it's high up on a pillar, so it's not going to receive a ton of damage. But I do want to exaggerate stuff on it, because it's, you know, kind of the idea of the stylized art style that I'm trying to emulate. And if you're curious about the blockout phase, I did that in Blender, and I do have the video posted here on archived on YouTube. I do stream to multiple sources, but if you miss the stream, you can just jump into YouTube anytime, and they're all archived there. I try to put them in playlists depending on what the prop is. And it's basically just me sharing my learning process. I don't want to call these tutorials because they're not like traditional tutorials, but I do try to answer questions as best I can. But I find it's helpful for me to learn faster doing this, and then kind of answering questions and people giving me advice as well. One more in here. I do try to stream, or not try, my schedule right now for streaming is Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays for my art streams, I guess you could call them. And then on Saturday, I do I just started it, but I do game streams. Right now I'm mostly just streaming the new World of Warcraft expansion. So if you're into that, drop by. I am trying to keep it art related, so it's not just me like totally just playing WoW. I try to look for things that I can make in the future. To help challenge myself and learn. Take screenshots. You know, since it is an art style that I really enjoy, I try to practice it as much as I can. Or if you're just a fan of World of Warcraft, that's cool too. Just jump on in and say hi. I'm gonna hit that now with a, let's see, where is it brush? This AJ noise brush. I'm just gonna make that a little bigger. And I'll zoom in real close here so you can kind of get a good idea what it does. It just adds, like you can see the alpha here, it's just a noise. Actually, instead of going out or in, I want to go negative. And it just adds some really nice random surface noise. I don't want a whole bunch, just something to kind of break up the pure flatness on these. This brush can be pretty intense if you just drag it and paint with it or sculpt with it in a traditional way. There we go. Now I'm going to turn symmetry off. I'm just going to kind of push some of the surface in and out. Just so there's a little more imperfections in it. Let me make this. I don't want to do it too much. Just enough to give it a little variety in the surface. Little bumps and divots. I don't know if that's showing up for you guys. Yeah, you can see it, I think, pretty well. And this is just to give the bakes something to kind of grab onto and work with. It'll really make a difference when I bring this in a Substance Painter. Having these, having that variety in the surface just adds a little more visual interest. And you can really take advantage of the like curvature and position maps in Substance Painter. There we go. I'm just gonna go through and hit it with the, I think this, let's try this orb flatten brush. That might be a little too aggressive. Try this aged polish maybe. How's that look? A little too much. Too much. I think I'll just go with the good old H polish. bring it down a bit. And get rid of some of that. Knock it down a little. I still haven't figured out a good way to separate stone and metal yet. But I am working on it. It's a little tricky trying to keep them from looking the same. I basically use the same workflow, but I get a little more aggressive with the noise brush. Smoothing that out, or polishing, not smoothing. Excuse me. And if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them down in the comment section below. I do try to do my best to answer them. And I try to answer them in a timely manner, but sometimes it takes me a couple days. Has any of you watched that the Gamescom footage? I don't know if any of you are interested in that, but it's kind of like the European E3 show, sort of, I guess. They announced a lot of the new hardware and technology, as well as video game stuff coming out. And Nvidia just unveiled their new GPUs. And I was super interested in it, but they didn't really share much they only shared their technology. Like, I don't know if any of you guys caught that, but they didn't talk about how their games work normal, or their technology works normally. They only talked about their new ray tracing technology, and it looks super cool, but the thing is, I just wonder if it's kind of like PhysX. I don't know if you guys remember that. Nvidia had this thing, or they still have it, this technology called physics, or it's going to make the physics in video games super realistic, but you needed to have an Nvidia GPU to enable it. So as a result, we very few game companies implemented it because it was just a pain in the butt to implement. And I think you have to pay rights. I could be wrong, but I think you have to pay for the license to use their stuff. It's just stupid. All right, I'm gonna use this little crack brush here, but I'm gonna drop the intensity, make it super big. That's too intense. There we go. And plus, they're so expensive. I mean, I knew they were going to be a pricey GPU this time around, but the 2080 Ti is like, it's literally like $1,200 to $1,300 depending which one you get and what brand. And it's just weird that like that's where we're at, you know, with consumer GPUs now. It's like you know, like Nvidia used to have their Titan card, and that was like the super ultra enthusiast card. It wasn't the mainstream gamer card. And then their GTX cards were always kind of like the mainstream gamer. But to launch over $1,000 card targeted towards the mainstream, granted it is the top end model, but it's still the mainstream product line. Just crazy to me. I'm curious if any of you are planning on buying one, or which one you are planning to get if you are. I'm kind of looking at the 2070 because I got when the 1070, the 10 series came out, I bought the 1070. And I still have it, and it actually works really well, to be honest. But I do want to upgrade. So I'm probably going to get that one. Just gonna go through and kind of hit these with each for the trim dynamic, kind of knock it down a little. But yeah, if any of you guys are planning on getting one, you know, I'd love to know what your thoughts are on it and why you're getting the one you're getting. So post that down in the comments and get a little discussion going on that. If I do get one, I do plan on doing a little review on it, but not a video game review, mostly from a digital content point of view, particularly for like Blender, because I'm a Blender user, but I also use Substance Painter and Marmoset Toolbag, and those are pretty reliant on GPUs for their rendering. And you know, I'm not like a super tech head guy, but I think that will give people a better perspective who are just kind of like me. You know, they just want to they just want stuff to work. They don't want, like, you know, like I don't want to like sit there and like get super into overclocking and all that stuff. I just want to like plug it in and know that if I press this button, maybe do a couple of little easy tweaks, it's gonna do what I ask it to do, and I get what I paid for. Oops, I didn't do the bottom of any of them. But we'll see. Either way, it's nice, it's fun to see something new coming out, but I really wish that prices weren't so outrageous. Just too much. I feel like it's kind of like I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term opening a can of worms. Basically means like once you open it, they all come out, or everybody starts doing it. You know, and that's the last thing we need with you know, as gamers and content creators. You know, unless you're part of a giant company or you're like a extremely successful artist or content creator, you know, paying over $1,000 for one piece of hardware is just like that's a tough sell, man. I mean, shoot, that's almost as much as a computer. You could build almost a decent computer for the price of just their one GPU. But oh well, we'll see. We'll have to find out what they're really like once they actually are released. Hopefully AMD will have a something to respond with, you know. But anyways, back to the topic at hand. I'm just knocking down these edges because I just want it to look a little smoother. And then I'm going to hit it with the H polish one more time. Just so that it's not so bumpy, like aggressively bumpy. This is kind of what I was talking about. I have a hard time separating things and making it materials and making it look exactly like what I want it to look like. I mean, it is stylized, so I can kind of get away with it, but like until I actually put the textures on this, you could mistake them for being stone. And that's something I need to learn to work around, learn a better way to create metal. So if any of you guys have some pointers, I'd love to hear them. Or some tips or critiques on how I can do not necessarily realistic metal, but better stylized metal. I have been trying to just do some like simple drawings, some 2D drawings and renderings of metal. But yeah, I definitely could use some work here. I'm gonna go ahead and add some of these little orb crack brush scratches on these guys, just to, you know what, no, I'm not gonna do that this time. Okay. It's pretty good. There we go. I want to work on both of these. I'm going to keep symmetry on. These are going to be wood. So let's see. I want to start off same, very similar workflow, except I'm a little more aggressive with the trim dynamic on these edges. Want it to look more like it got carved and milled. I really like doing stylized wood for some reason. I've mentioned it in a bunch of my other videos, but it's really fun. Just it's such a fun, exaggerated thing to do. It's such a departure from real wood. It is neat though how you like almost instantly recognize stylized art and what they represent because they are so simplified. Like, oh yeah, that's a, you know, that's a wood beam or a wood plank. But if you look at a wood plank in real life, it doesn't look anything like that. A little too much there. Part's a little thin. I should have thickened that up, but that's okay. Oh no, I didn't have my symmetry on. Oh man. It's okay. That's okay. Damn. Oh well. I am gonna reuse these in my diorama when I start totally putting it together. I do have a basic uh, block out for it. Or I guess some people call it white boxing, where you just use boxes to kind of like as placeholders where everything's gonna go. But I do have the basic layout, and it's kind of like a storage room that's part of an inn, sort of. Hopefully it'll make sense when I put it all together. I have to wait for that. Are any of you guys playing World of Warcraft right now? And if you are you guys Alliance, Horde? And why? I actually try to just bounce around between the two. I mostly play Horde. I play a Druid. But I do play on the Alliance side as well. Because it's fun to see the story from both sides, I think. I think that's a pretty cool aspect of the game. It's like you really get to see that both sides are not necessarily the bad guy. There's not a good guy or a bad guy really per se. All right, now I'm going to get the good old orbed crack brush. I like to use that one a lot. And I'm going to put Sculptress Pro mode on so it gets my details out real easily. I'm just going to add some kind of, oops. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. You can't have parts of your model hidden and use Sculptress Pro. I guess I don't really need it right now. I do have a pretty high Dynamesh resolution on there. I do tend to get a little carried away with the wood sometimes. And I always like to add these little swirls in there. Not too many though. Kind of like a less is more thing with the stylized stuff. Not there. That's where like the branches were. And this is where I think the well, maybe I should just split these off. That way I don't need to worry about hiding them every time I want to use Sculptris Pro mode. That's like the knot at the end. And this part's kind of hidden. Like, you know, it's bumping up to that, but on some of them I plan on making like parts of the pillar like broken off, you know. Not like the place is destroyed, but just some of them have been abused, so to speak. That's the plan anyway. This one right here. Here. Well, one down, one to go. And I'm gonna add the. Actually, I'll just do that now, so we can. I like to come through with the clay buildup. It's kind of follow the pattern. Build up some surface noise on these. On the bark, of the wood. Because that adds a lot of extra interesting detail to the texture maps when you bake them. I just kind of, I usually just kind of crisscross a little bit, depending on like the type of like bark look you want it to have. And you can do a negative, couple of negative brush strokes every now and then, just to give it a little more variation. I should probably do that up there. There's some, you guys are wondering what that background noise is. I don't know if you can hear it. There's, they're painting the apartment complex I'm in, and the yard service guys are here too today, so it's extra noisy. So, I do have my windows closed, but they're pretty loud, man. But hopefully it's not too annoying. And just, this will all make a lot more sense in a second once I'm gonna flatten it down. That might have been a little too much there. Yeah, there's no real like pattern or rhyme or reason to it. It's just kind of add that randomness to it. Kind of how actual tree bark is. I mean, there's a little bit of a sort of pattern when you look at tree bark, but it's not like super predictable. I think that's all of it. And I just like to go through with this orb flatten brush and kind of just knock it all down. I like to leave those little like crevices that it makes. Kind of helps sell the whole bark thing, but not too much, because you know it's stylized, so it's good to keep it simple. You don't need hyper. For what I'm going for, I don't want a ton of micro detail, if any, to be honest. Just enough to give the normal map and texture map something to work with. That's kind of the whole concept of like the sculpting high poly, low poly workflow. I do want to start trying to use textures more to get the detail, but I have to get a little bit better with Substance Painter first, or Substance Designer. I haven't touched Substance Designer nearly as much as I should have. It's just such a foreign concept to me, that the way it, like I kind of understand what it's doing, but I don't really know how to use it. I don't know if that makes sense. But I do really want to keep saying that. You know, I do want to learn it, and I intend to. I just don't have all that extra free time yet. I gotta go to work and all that stuff. Gotta pay them bills. And bills. You know, I just do this all in my free time. Speaking of time, all right, we're getting close on time here. Probably finish this piece out and call it a stream. I generally stream for about 45 minutes. I try not to do more than that, because I feel like 45 minutes is kind of like the sweet spot. You know, I get enough done where it's interesting enough for people to see what I'm doing. Yeah, because for the most part, I'll just be repeating this process on the wood. And a very similar process on my stone. But if you're interested how I do the stone, I just did a tiling floor texture. And if you jump through the video, the playlist, you can see the part where I did the stone tiles here in Zbrush. And that's basically the same workflow I'm going to use. It's very similar to this one that I'm using right now. Down, there's a little too many there. But yeah, I'll probably finish sculpting out the rest of this pillar here off stream, and hold on, I do want to do a couple things here. I do like to add these little like cracks along the edges here, like it's kind of like there's a it's like where the bark is peeling off a little bit. Should probably make that even more aggressive. But what I'll do is I'll use the move brush to kind of pull it out after the fact. I'll show you what I mean here in a second. This is kind of like a guideline. That's kind of like where the natural line for the bark is. Then I'll just use the move brush here. A little bigger. Kind of pull the bark out along the edges. Nothing too crazy. I don't want it to maybe pull the wood in a little. And it's good to give it that extra randomness, because it's not something that's perfect. Like even though they cut it to be round, it's not going to be perfectly round. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but I mean, realistically, you wouldn't have the bark on there if you milled your wood. It would be a nice clean piece of wood. But this is stylized, so we're having fun with it, making it how we want it to be. Yeah, I think that'll work. Maybe a couple of little divot holes in there. Turn the turn that wave back up. I like to make them small, but very visible. Because that way you can really kind of see those little random things from a distance. Oh, that one might be a little too big. There we go. That looks pretty good. Oops. Yeah, so I'll do the same thing on those parts. And on the stone, it's very similar to the metal workflow, but I just add a little more surface imperfections. But I'm gonna have to call it a stream here because I do have chores to get done before work. But I will be back on Friday for texture baking. Well, I'll probably have to do a little bit of retopology. Not much. I'm just gonna tweak the block out I did to accommodate what I do here. And then I'll take it over into Marmoset tool bag and I'll bake the textures in there. And then I'll also bring it into Substance Painter and do the actual texture painting in there. But I will do a small part also with the workflow for totally baking your texture maps in Substance Painter because somebody was asking about that. I have kind of done it before, but I'll try to do it a little more step by step how to get your model out of Blender or ZBrush, but mostly Blender and into Substance Painter to bake it so it has one texture map instead of a bunch of texture maps. So if you're interested in that, excuse me. If you're interested in that, check me out on Friday. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it a stream. I'll be back on Friday. If you like the stream, hit that like button. Hit subscribe. That way you'll get notified as soon as I go live. And yeah, I will see you guys on Friday. Have a good day. Until next time.